yes, welcome back to Sound of Games, man. And today we are not hunting at the boot fairs, as we are joined by a very special guest as we go hunting in Norwich with Ed Hunt.
Game Pickups! Building a game room! Rush trips! Live game hunting!
Again, folks, and welcome back to another live game hunting episode. And yes, this time we are joined by a very, very special guest, fellow YouTuber and absolutely legendary guy, Ed Hunt. And I had the absolute pleasure of showing him some of my favourite spots to hunt here in the fine city of Norwich. It was such an absolute pleasure to spend the afternoon with Ed in Norwich because he just brings such passion and excitement to game hunting, and that's what drew me to his channel at the start. I actually started watching his channel before I even started this channel, and I dare say he was one of the YouTubers that actually inspired me to make the channel that you're watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And of course, as soon as you've watched this video, go and check out Ed Hunt's channel. He is the absolute master of car boot hunting. Trust me, hit that like button, subscribe and join Ed Hunt's channel. Here we go then, folks, an afternoon of game hunting with legendary Ed Hunt. And of course, there was only one place we could start the hunt.
That could be attempted in the next few weeks, but still there.
And that is, of course, my local CEX store. Now, unfortunately, it was a Friday afternoon during the school holidays. It was absolutely rammed, but this mega CD, like in Wayne's World, it will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine. If that is there in the next few weeks, that's coming into the collection. Now, unfortunately, on this day, CX in Norwich was absolutely rammed, so we didn't get a lot of footage. There was some great stuff in there, but it was the school holidays and it was just super duper busy. But of course, one of my favourite places to hunt in Norwich is charity shops, so I wanted to show Ed Hunt some of my favourite charity shops around the fine city. So on to the charity shops, and straight away I managed to find a couple of cheap PC CD-ROM games, but unfortunately these Xbox 360 games were super overpriced, which is a real shame, but these aren't the Call of Duty games that are worth flipping at the moment. Now, one thing I always look for in the t-shirt section is any kind of video game based t-shirts, especially ones that look like this, kind of the promotional ones. So I don't think this is more the one you'd buy on a shelf. I think this is more like a pre-order bonus, or one of the ones they kind of send out to shops to kind of promote their upcoming games. And these are fairly hard to find normally, like, because people just never get rid of them. But this is more what you normally find when you're looking for video game clothing. They're kind of really cheap, tacky, kind of just screen printed stuff. This is obviously some kind of like Etsy or kind of just cheap knockoff merchandise. So I did pass on this one. It's kind of hideous. I know a lot of these game t-shirts are, but this one I did pass on. Unfortunately, in the next charity shop, while there was some really cool stuff, it was really overpriced. This kind of, for me, was getting more into the kind of antiques or kind of retro store pricing, which, to be fair, yes, they can command these prices, but I'm looking cheaper. This is what I absolutely love about charity shops. You never know what you're going to find. And this is something I love finding in charity shops. These kind of promotional t-shirts for video games. I don't know if this is one that was kind of sold to the public or one that you kind of game stores were sent as promotion, but I just love these kind of promotional pieces. This was super cheap, and it's just a little bit of gaming history. But yes, I did pass on that red Destiny hoodie because that thing was just gross. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have much luck in the charity shops this time, but that is, of course, the nature of the beast when it comes to charity shops. You never know what you're going to find. Now, Ed did get a little bit more footage of myself in these charity shops, and that will be in his video, which, of course, I will link in the comments down below. I did manage to pick up a couple of PC CD-ROM games. Now, if I can pick these up cheap, I'll always pick them up. So first off, we have, deep breath, Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator World War II Europe series, which absolutely rolls off the tongue. I really enjoy these old Microsoft Flight Simulators. These are really good, especially with a flight stick. I picked up two of these, but unfortunately one of these is a fail. So this one, Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator 2 World War II Pacific Theatre, is in fact a photocopied cover, which I can't believe I missed in a charity shop. And at the end of the day, at least they did not make illegal copies of this disc, but sadly a fail. Unfortunately, we hadn't had much luck in the charity shops, but just down the road was a pawn shop which recently I discovered was doing some crazy offers on their video games. So fingers crossed we can snag a great deal. Now, if you've seen one of my recent videos, you will recognise this pawn shop as the pawn shop that steadily decreases the price of their games the longer they're on the shelf. Now, I think somebody must have beaten us here today, unfortunately. As you can see, the games on the 50% off shelf were not numerous. There was only a couple there and nothing too exciting. But this pawn shop normally has some pretty good stock in. You can see some really nice Switch consoles, some loose Switch games, just a little bit of everything. Now, with this pawn shop, it is all about the waiting game, as these prices will go down if the item doesn't sell. There was some really cool bits here, like the Wii Play for 20 quid was a bit of a bargain. Now, don't get me wrong, there was nothing like overtly overpriced in here. There was just nothing just for the bargain price, the prices that I'm really holding out for. But that's what it is. It's just a waiting game.
Daniel, talk. How much is the...
One thing I do love about this cash converter store is it does have these two absolutely incredible full-size arcade machines. Yes, they are for sale, but they're also set to free play. But I did choose not to embarrass myself today. Now, next door to cash converters is a much smaller pawn shop, and to be honest, I've never really had much luck in here, but you just always have to keep trying your luck as such. They had a very small Switch section, and unfortunately there was nothing in there for a good price. But this is the thing about looking for games in pawn shops. You need to try and catch them slipping on their prices. Yes, a lot of their times will be pretty much CX price or normally more expensive. I generally think that's how a lot of pawn shops do set their prices now. They check the CX website because more often than not, they are the exact same price. But every so often you can find them slipping, and this is why it's really important to know the market value of these games, because if you can get a deal in these stores, you can get a really good deal. And I did manage to pick up a couple of bits in this store which I think was surprisingly cheap, and one of them I've never seen before, and one of these games I've been looking for a very, very long while. But you can see you have to really dig deep. Here's a question, so let me know the answer down in the comments below. Do you think these day one Xbox Ones will be more expensive in the future? Comment below. Now, here is a game I've never seen before, specifically this exact version, Batman Arkham Collection. Now, this is interesting as it has 2 discs in here, but lists 3 games. That's because one of these is digital, but for £4, I'm definitely going to pick this up because, seriously, any excuse to go back and play the 2 best Batman games. Like I said earlier, it's all about knowing your market and knowing the prices. I could have swore Minecraft for the PlayStation 3 chops in for more than £5, but that is the exact value of trading in CX. Now, here is a game which has eluded me for the longest time, Midway Arcade Treasures 2. And this is the one of the 3 Arcade Treasures games they released I really, really wanted. Of course, no trip to Norwich is complete without a trip to Last Level Games, and that's where we're ending today's hunt. And straight to the glass cabinet, and they had an absolutely incredible selection of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. Somebody must have bought in a lot of these games quite recently, a really good amount of Switch games. You can see The Last of Us Ellie Edition here on the side is one you don't see very often, as well as some absolutely big titles for the PlayStation 3. Last Level Games always has an absolutely amazing selection of games, and it's always changing. Every time I go in there seems to be something new. And every time I go in there, I am tempted by these modded Sega Game Gears. I just think this is the only way to play Game Gear in 2023. It just looks absolutely awesome. I really, really love these modded consoles. They look so good.
Yeah, so we must trade in some big DS games,
including Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. It is crazy that a game that essentially looks like shovelware commands that price. Now, here is a Switch game I didn't know I was going to get tempted by, the Pokemon Sword and Shield Double Pack. Now, I actually have both these games individually, but I'm kind of contemplating trading them both in towards this, because I think it's Pokemon double packs like this that in the future are going to command a much higher price. For 80 quid, this is a steal. I don't know why, and I'm not complaining, but more often than not, Last Level Games seem to get in some NTSC Xbox 360 games, and these are normally games I have never heard of. Like, I've never heard of this game right here, Heavy Fire Shattered Spear, but for 3 quid, I'll take a risk on this. It's just Xbox 360 games like this you just never see in the wild. One of the best things about spending time with fellow game collectors is just expanding your knowledge. Now, I thought I had a pretty decent knowledge of the Pokemon franchise, but When it comes to the Japanese Pocket Monsters games, I really don't have too much knowledge. So here's Ed Hunts to drop some absolute knowledge about his N64 Pokemon bangers.
So, this is the first one that came out in Japan. This is the second one that came in Japan, and this is the third one that came in Japan. This is the first one that came out in the UK, and this is the second one that came in the UK. This one we didn't actually get in the UK, and it only came with about 60 odd Pokemon, like all of the further evolved, like, you know, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, so on and so forth. And then this one has got 150 Pokemon in it, and this one's got the Gold and Silver 251 Pokemon in it. So yeah, we didn't get this one in the UK. We got these two.
Here is the thing, I've been shopping at Last Level Games for absolutely years, and they're always getting new stock in, but there's just some games that I seem to just bypass all the time. There's probably some absolute bangers which have been on these shelves for ages and I've just never picked up. And this is one of the things I love about going game hunting with somebody else. Sometimes they can inspire you to pick up a game which you've just passed on or didn't even have any knowledge of for years, and that's exactly what happened this time with Ed. And another thing I love about going hunting with fellow collectors is their recommendations. Sometimes you just pick up a game you'd never have normally picked up, so let's see what SNES banger Ed Hunt convinced me to grab.
Smash TV, Super Smash TV, also mixing this up, really
So you'd
highly
recommend?
recommended.
So I'm quite tempted to go for Goof Troop off that recommendation. It's Capcom as well, so you
Yeah,
can't really...
honestly, it's a great game, man.
So it looks like we are adding another SNES
And
banger
actually the
into the
12 quid,
collection. The main reason Ed was down in Norwich this weekend was for the video game retro market. For the first time, this market was coming to the University of East Anglia, and of course, you know I had to hit this one up. So stay tuned for a video coming next week where I'll be taking you through this gaming market which comes to the fine city of Norwich for the very first time. And if you are a fan of Ed Hunt's, you are in luck as he was also selling at this gaming market. So make sure you stay tuned for this brand new video coming next Saturday live at 5 from the Norwich Retro Game Market. Here we are then, back in the games room after an absolutely amazing afternoon of game hunting with Ed Hunt. And even better, I have some absolutely awesome bits to add to the collection. So we may not have had much luck in that first pawn shop, but this is the thing with pawn shops. It's all about timing, and sadly, I guess this time our timing was off. But in the pawn shop just next door, I did manage to find some hidden bangers. Now, you saw me pick up this game, Batman Arkham Collection. That's because this has 2 games in the case. Now, the Arkham Collection does include Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, and Batman Arkham Knight. Now, unfortunately, Arkham Knight is a download code, but of course, as we all know, you can pick up Arkham Knight for about £5 at CEX. Now, I'm guessing because it has 3 games listed on this game, and there's only 2 games playable as such, CEX do not sell this game. And that's why I managed to pick this up for the bargain of just £4, which, at the end of the day, if I can play Arkham Asylum and also Arkham City on the PlayStation 4 in full HD with a physical disc for just £2 a game, yes, I'm going to pick this one up. Now, this pawn shop in particular, you had to spend a minimum of £5 on a card, so of course I had to find something else to pick up. And I managed to find an OG Xbox game which I've been looking for absolutely ages. It is Midway Arcade Treasures 2. Now, I've got Arcade Treasures and Arcade Treasures 3. This is the one that's always eluded me, and this has some awesome games. It has Primal Rage, Narc, Gauntlet 2, Rampage. It also has Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 2. This, for me, is definitely the best of these Midway Arcade Treasures collections. This was an absolute bargain pickup. It set me back $2.99. Yes, it may not be in an original Xbox box, but it does come complete with a manual, and more importantly, it completes my trilogy of Midway Arcade Classics games. Finally, no trip to Norwich game hunting is complete without a trip to Last Level Games. Without a doubt, my favourite independent gaming store here in Norwich. And one thing I love about this store is it's changing all the time. And one of my favourite sections to hunt in this store is the Xbox 360 sections. They just seem to have games come in I've never heard of. Games such as this one, Heavy Fire Shattered Spear. Yes, this is a NTSC game, but I've never heard anything about this game. It looks like your kind of generic Call of Duty game, but It's just, I love finding rarities for a console that I have hundreds of games for already. To find a game I've never seen before in an Xbox 360 is one of the many reasons I love last level games. Our final pickup this time came as a recommendation from none other than Ed Hunt himself. This is probably a game I've passed up tons of times. I've probably seen this on the shelves and never given it a second thought. It is Goof Troop for the SNES. Now this is a Capcom Disney licensed SNES game, and I have no idea why I've never picked this up before, because back in the day Capcom Disney games were just the best. So thank you, Ed, for the recommendation of this one. I cannot wait to check out this SNES banger. There we have it then, folks. That was another live game hunting episode, and it was such an absolute pleasure to be joined by my fellow YouTuber and now good friend Ed Hunt. If you enjoyed this episode, first and foremost, go and check out his YouTube channel, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.